My friend, let me share something that's been weighing on my heart these past months. You know how we sometimes think we've got life all figured out? Well, I want to tell you about a fellow who had everything the world says matters. More money than Rockefeller, houses bigger than those Newport mansions we used to gawk at. His name in the financial pages right next to Warren Buffett's. But standing in a hospice room at 3 in the morning, watching his wife hold the hand of a dying man, he discovered he was poorer than a church mouse. This isn't about money, though Lord knows there's plenty of that. It's about what happens when a man finally sees himself clear as day, like looking in a mirror after years of avoiding your own reflection. Sometimes we have to lose everything we thought mattered to find the only thing that does. The fluorescent lights in room 217 flickered like they needed replacing. That nervous flutter that hurts your eyes if you stare too long. Harlan Cross stood frozen in the doorway, his Italian leather shoes, the kind that cost more than most folks' mortgage payments, looking all wrong against the worn linoleum floor that had seen too many final walks. His wife Maeve sat beside the bed, holding the hand of a fellow who looked like death had already started packing his bags. The man's breathing rattled like coins in a tin can. "Leonard," Maeve whispered, dabbing his forehead with a washcloth that had been washed so many times it was soft as tissue paper. "Leonard, you're safe. I'm right here with you." The dying man's eyes opened, clouded like old milk glass, searching, lost. Then they found Harlan. Time stopped cold as a January morning. Those eyes cleared up, sharp as a knife. The skeletal hand in Maeve's grip went tight as a vice. That rattling breath, caught, held, then came out in just one word. "You." Harlan's throat closed up like someone had a fist around it. Leonard Hale, employee number 10,847. 15 years back, a Friday morning, 9:45 Eastern Time, 300 pink slips sent out by computer. Your position has been eliminated effective immediately. You two know each other? Maeve looked between them, her hand never leaving Leonard's, steady as a lighthouse keeper. Leonard's laugh sounded like sandpaper on old wood. Know him? He destroyed my life with the push of a button. The words hung in the air like smoke from a snuffed candle. Harlan wanted to run, to get back to his big house on the hill where the world made sense, where his success meant something. But his legs had turned to stone.
"Harlan?"
Maeve's voice had something in it. Not surprise exactly. Something else. Like when you finally confirm what you suspected all along. "Is this true?" Before he could answer, Leonard's other hand rose up, shaking like a leaf in November wind, pointing straight at Harlan. 300 of us. One email. Do you even remember? The truth was worse than any lie Harlan could cook up. He remembered the numbers clear as yesterday. The percentage points gained, the stock price jumping like a rabbit, the board members slapping his back. But the faces? The names? Harlan started, then stopped. What could he say? That it was just business? That it was necessary? That any businessman worth his salt would have done the same? Sarah was 17, Leonard went on, his voice finding strength from some deep well that hadn't run dry yet. College applications spread all over the kitchen table. Martha and we'd saved every penny since she was born. Then, nothing. No severance for eliminated positions. That was the clever part, wasn't it? The heart monitor beeped uneven, like a drummer losing the beat. Maeve adjusted something on the IV drip with the practiced ease of someone who'd done it 10,000 times. That patent made your company worth $3 billion, Leonard continued. I got a $500 bonus and a certificate suitable for framing. Sarah hung it on her wall. Still had it there when she had to leave Berkeley. Harlan's phone felt heavy as lead in his pocket, Sarah's number burning in his recent calls like an accusation. "I'm going to call her," he said. "No. She should be here. She shouldn't see this." Leonard gestured weakly at his swollen belly, his stick arms. "Let her remember me from before I destroyed you." Leonard's laugh was wet, like he was drowning from the inside. I destroyed myself. You just lit the match. Maeve wiped pink foam from his lips, gentle as a mother with a baby. Rest now. Save your strength. For what? But Leonard's eyes were already closing like shutters at dusk. Walter appeared in the doorway then, his walker scraping against the frame like fingernails on wood. 84 years old, cancer eating him from the inside, but he moved with more purpose than Harlan had felt in 20 years. Maeve? Dorothy's asking for you. She thinks it's 1962 again, looking for President Kennedy on the television. I'll be right there, Walter. Maeve squeezed Leonard's hand once more, then stood. As she passed Harlan, she stopped close enough he could smell the ivory soap she used, same kind his mother had kept by the kitchen sink. Her voice came so quiet only he could hear. Stay with him. What? Stay with the man you destroyed. See what your efficiency really costs. She left, and Harlan stood alone with Leonard Hale, employee number 10,847, whose breathing sounded like an indictment, whose very existence was a mirror Harlan had spent 15 years avoiding. Why? Leonard asked, eyes still closed. Why are you here? Harlan thought about the bet. $5 million wagered over brandy and Cuban cigars that he could stay married to a working woman for 6 months without her getting used to the good life. He thought about following Maeve here, curious where she spent those 16-hour shifts. He thought about all the reasons that it seemed to matter when he had his head up in the clouds. I don't know, he admitted. Leonard opened his eyes. That's the first honest thing you've said in 15 years. Down the hall, Dorothy was calling out names from 1962, her 5th grade students from Jefferson Elementary. Timothy? Where's Timothy Morrison? He needs his lunch money. 25 cents for hot lunch. Walter's patient voice responded. Timothy's all grown up now, Dorothy. Has grandkids of his own. Mr. Cross, Leonard said. Look at me. Harlan looked. Really looked. Saw the yellow tinge that meant the liver had given up. The hollowed cheeks like someone had scooped him out with a spoon. The wedding ring still on his finger, though Martha had been gone 13 years. I'm going to die in this room, Leonard said, matter-of-fact, as reading a weather report. Probably tonight, tomorrow if I'm unlucky. And you know what? I forgive you. What? Not for you, for me. Hate's too heavy to carry where I'm going. But I need you to know something. When you sent that email, you didn't just eliminate a position. You eliminated a man's purpose, his marriage, his relationship with his daughter, his belief that 40 years of hard work meant a hill of beans. Harlan sank into the chair Maeve had left, still warm from her sitting there, like she'd left a bit of comfort behind. I designed 17 patents for your company, Leonard continued. Remember any of them? Harlan didn't, not a one. The RF semiconductor that made your company go public? That was mine. Patent number 7,859,291. But you know what I remember most? Leonard's eyes bored into Harlan's like drill bits. I remember Sarah's face when I told her we couldn't afford Stanford anymore. She said it was okay. Said she'd go to community college. My brilliant girl, settling for less because I couldn't protect her from men like you. The door opened, soft as a sigh. Maggie Sullivan, the head nurse, entered with a syringe. Irish as Patty's pig, as Harlan's father would say, with that no-nonsense way about her. Pain medication time, Mr. Hale? As she pushed the medicine into his IV, she looked at Harlan with the kind of curiosity you'd give a zoo animal. You're Maeve's husband, the millionaire. Billionaire, Leonard corrected with bitter humor that could have curdled milk. He's a billionaire, always gets the numbers right when they matter to him. Before we continue, please leave a like and subscribe. Let me know which city you're watching from. Now, let's get back to the story. 6 months earlier, Harlan Cross stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of the St. Regis Hotel, watching fog roll in from the bay like a gray wool blanket. The scotch in his crystal tumbler cost more than most folks' weekly groceries. 18-year-old Macallan that burned smooth going down. Behind him, 50 men in suits that cost more than a good used car celebrated his third company going public. The smell of Cuban cigars, illegal but nobody cared, mixed with cologne expensive enough to make your eyes water. 8 billion. Carter Vaughn's reflection appeared beside his in the window. Carter's breath carried that sweet, sour smell of too much wine at lunch, whiskey at dinner. They'd roomed together at Princeton, back when they thought $1 million was all the money in the world. Carter swirled his drink, ice cubes clinking like pocket change. Remember when we lived on ramen noodles, 39 cents a pack at the A&P? That was 30 years ago. Rachel left you. Carter's words came out slow, careful. Then Jennifer, your old man. When's the last time you called him? Harlan's jaw tightened. William Cross still lived in that 2-bedroom ranch in Minden, Nevada. Still climbed up on the roof to fix his own shingles at 81, stubborn as a Missouri mule. You wouldn't last a month with a real woman, Carter continued, louder now. The room had gotten quiet the way rooms do when money's about to change hands. Someone who doesn't need your money. Someone who sees through all your fancy spreadsheets and stock options. 20 faces turned their way like flowers following the sun. How much? The words came out of Harlan's mouth before his brain caught up. 5 million. 6 months married to someone ordinary. Working class. No prenuptial agreement. She walks, or starts depending on your money, you win. She stays independent, I win. Define ordinary. Under $50,000 a year, no college debt you pay off, no gifts over $100. Carter's grin looked like a snake's. And you can't tell her about the bet. October rain hammered the window of Café Myrtle, 2 blocks from St. Mary Medical Center. The kind of rain that gets in your bones. Harlan had been watching for 3 weeks, nurses heading home after night shift, teachers grading papers over coffee that tasted like burnt rubber, retail workers checking phones with screens cracked like spider webs. Then she walked in. Maeve Collins moved like someone carrying rocks in her pockets. Navy scrubs faded from too many washes, hair pulled back with a drugstore elastic, eyes the green of old copper with gold flecks catching the fluorescent lights. She ordered black coffee, cheapest thing on the menu at $2, and sat by the window with a library book thick as a phone book. Harlan watched her read for 20 minutes, the way she held her coffee cup with both hands like it was warming more than her fingers, the way she didn't check her phone once, the way she looked through the window at the rain like she was seeing something besides weather. He stood up, straightened his tie, silk, Italian, cost more than her whole outfit, walked over with his laptop like he owned the place, which he could have. "Excuse me, is anyone sitting here?" She looked up. Those green-gold eyes went right through him, like she could see the Princeton diploma, the 3 divorces he'd barely avoided, the father he hadn't called in 8 years. "No." One word, but the way she said it, like she knew exactly what kind of man he was and was letting him sit anyway. Harlan sat down, opened his laptop to a spreadsheet he'd memorized 3 days ago. The chair wobbled on uneven legs. Someone had stuck a folded napkin under one, but it wasn't helping much. Maeve's book was about palliative care, pages yellowed at the edges, library stamp dating back to 1987. "Medical field?" he asked after the coffee shop filled with the lunch crowd, mostly hospital workers in scrubs eating sandwiches wrapped in wax paper. "Hospice nurse." She didn't look up from her book. "That must be difficult? Depressing?" Now she looked at him, marking her page with her finger. "It's honest. People stop lying when they're dying. They stop pretending things that don't matter do." The way she said it, flat, matter-of-fact, like stating water was wet, made something shift in Harlan's chest. He introduced himself as someone in medical equipment sales. The lie came out smooth as butter. "Harlan." She repeated his name like she was tasting unfamiliar food. "Old-fashioned name. Don't hear it much anymore. My mother liked the classics." "Liked?" "She passed when I was 22. Pancreatic cancer." Maeve studied him the way his father used to look at electrical wiring, checking for faults. 3 months from diagnosis? 10 weeks. The quick ones are merciful and cruel. No time to suffer long, no time to say what needs saying. She closed her book completely now. Your father? Still alive. We don't talk much. Why? The question came at him like a fastball. Most people would dance around it, make sympathetic noises. Not her. We're different people, he said, which was true enough. Her pager buzzed. Old model, the kind that just showed numbers. She stood, left $2 bills under her cup. Exact change. Same time tomorrow? The question jumped out before Harlan could stop it. She pulled on a raincoat that had seen better decades, the kind with snaps instead of a zipper. I work 16-hour shifts. I eat when I can. I don't date liars. His coffee sloshed. What makes you think? Your shoes cost more than I make in a month. That watch on your wrist? Patek Philippe, probably worth more than my house. And that laptop shows reflected data from what you're pretending to work on. Stock portfolios, not medical equipment. She snapped her raincoat closed. But I'll be here tomorrow anyway. 5:40 in the morning, before my shift. Buy your own coffee. The bell over the door chimed when she left. Harlan sat there with his worthless spreadsheet, wondering why his hands felt sweaty. 5:40 came dark and cold. November had teeth that year. Maeve sat in the same spot, same book, page further along. Harlan brought coffee from the gas station down the block. 50 cents in a styrofoam cup that burned his fingers. Why hospice? He asked. Why billionaire? She countered. The coffee went down wrong. How did you? Your picture was in the Wall Street Journal yesterday. Tech mogul Harlan Cross hits $8 billion. They used your Princeton graduation photo next to one from last month. You've aged well for someone who destroyed 300 lives with one email. The fluorescent lights hummed like angry bees. You knew about that? I know how to read, Mr. Cross. The question is why you're sitting in a coffee shop at dawn pretending to be someone you're not. The truth and the lie wrestled in his throat. He thought about the bet, about Carter's smirk, about winning. But Maeve's eyes, steady as a surgeon's hand, made deception feel like swallowing glass. I want to know what it's like, he said finally, to be with someone who doesn't need me. She laughed, not cruel, just surprised, like a crow's caw. Nobody doesn't need anybody, Mr. Cross. Even dying people need witnesses. The question is what kind of witness you plan to be. Call me Harlan. Harlan. She stood, checking her Timex watch, the kind they sold at Woolworth's when Woolworth's still existed. I have to go. Mr. Brennan is having his hip replaced today. 84 years old, and he's terrified he won't wake up. Will he? Probably. But I'll be there when he does, so he knows someone gave a damn. She walked to the door, then turned back, framed by gray morning light. You want to know what it's like to be with someone who doesn't need your money? Show up tomorrow without the Bentley you've got parked 3 blocks away, without that watch. Just show up as whoever you really are underneath all that arithmetic. 2 weeks of coffee at dawn. Harlan wore clothes from J.C. Penney that scratched like pennants. Told her about his mother's piano playing, hymns and Simon and Garfunkel at sunrise. She told him about her mother dying alone in Fresno while she took an organic chemistry exam. I was going to be a doctor, she said one morning, watching garbage trucks rumble past. Save lives. Now I just watch them end. That's still saving something. Maybe. December 10th. The courthouse smelled like floor wax and disappointment. Maeve wore a navy dress, not new, but clean and pressed. Her mother's dress, she said, altered to fit. The ceremony took 11 minutes. Judge Harrison had married 3 other couples that morning, would marry 4 more before lunch. Do you take this woman? Judge Harrison looked tired, reading from a card he'd probably memorized 20 years ago. I do. Do you take this man? Maeve looked at Harlan. Really looked. Like she could see through him to something he didn't know was there. I do. No kiss, just signatures on paper. Walking out into December sunshine that felt like a lie, Harlan thought he'd won something. The bet was sealed. 6 months and $5 million would be his. Maeve stopped on the courthouse steps, turned to face him. I know about the bet, Harlan. The world tilted. What? $5 million, 6 months. Your friend Carter at the St. Regis. Her voice stayed calm as still water. My friend Maggie, the head nurse at St. Mary's. Her cousin Danny works security at the hotel, heard the whole thing. Then why? Because I think I can save you. Not your money. You. She touched his face, her hand cold from the December air. The question is whether you want to be saved or just want to win. She walked toward her Honda Civic with the cracked windshield and the check engine light that never went off. Harlan stood on the courthouse steps in his JCPenney suit, holding a marriage certificate that might be worth $5 million or nothing at all. His phone buzzed. Carter. Is it done? Harlan didn't answer. He watched his wife drive away in a car worth less than his cufflinks, wondering which one of them was playing the longer game. January rain hammered the penthouse windows like someone throwing rice at a wedding. 28 days since the courthouse. 28 mornings Harlan had woken up alone in their California king bed that could fit 6 people but held only him. The platinum American Express cards still lay on the granite counter where he'd left them the first morning. 3 cards, untouched, gathering a thin film of dust. $75,000 credit limit each, and she hadn't bought so much as a cup of coffee. 5:15 a.m. Harlan stood at the bedroom window, watching the street below. There she was. Navy coat from Sears, probably 15 years old, standing under the streetlight at Fillmore and Pine. The 5:40 bus to St. Mary's. She'd stand there another 25 minutes in the rain rather than take one of the 3 cars in their garage. The Bentley, the Tesla, the vintage Mustang he'd bought on a whim. His phone showed 7 messages from his assistant about tonight. French Laundry, 8 o'clock. Chef Thomas Keller's tasting menu. $400 per person, not including wine. The reservation had taken 3 months and a favor from a board member. At 7:45 p.m., Harlan sat alone at table 14. The waiter, young fellow with hands that had never done real work, poured a 2015 Burgundy that tasted like old money and disappointment. The glass caught the candlelight, threw little red shadows on the white tablecloth. Empty chair across from him. The other diners kept glancing over, the way people do when they smell a story. 8:17. The amuse-bouche went cold. Caviar on mother-of-pearl spoons, each bite worth more than Maeve made in an hour. 8:34. He left $500 bills on the table and drove to St. Mary's. The hospice ward hit him with that smell. Pine Sol fighting a losing battle against something deeper, older. Death had its own perfume, and no amount of industrial cleaner could cover it. Room 341 had its door cracked open. Maeve's voice drifted out, soft and steady. The most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or touched. They are felt with the heart. Harlan pushed the door wider. Walter Brennan lay propped against 3 pillows, his face the color of newspaper left in the sun. Oxygen tubes in his nose, whistling slightly with each breath. Maeve sat in a metal folding chair pulled close to the bed, reading from a book with a cracked spine. She looked up at him. No surprise in her eyes, like she'd been expecting him all along. You missed dinner, Harlan said. Walter was scared. She marked her place with her finger. His son hasn't visited in 3 years. You chose a dying stranger over your husband? Walter's eyes opened then, focused on Harlan with the clarity that comes right before the end or right after morphine. Not a stranger. I've been here 14 months. She knows my grandson's name. Tommy, plays Little League for the Wildcats. Do you? The accusation sat there between them like a stone. Maeve stood, smoothed her scrubs, the same navy blue ones she wore that first day at Café Myrtle. Walter, this is my husband. Harlan, this is Walter. The billionaire. Walter's laugh turned into a cough that shook his whole body like a dog shaking off water. Maggie told everyone, "You married a billionaire who pretended to sell medical equipment." Maeve's hand found Walter's, helped him through the coughing fit. Her wedding ring, simple gold band from a pawn shop, $40, caught the fluorescent light. Harlan had offered her a 3-carat diamond. She'd said no. "Why didn't you come?" Harlan asked when Walter's breathing steadied. She looked at him the way his mother used to when he'd done something that disappointed her. "You made reservations at a restaurant where dinner costs more than Walter's monthly Social Security check. Where they serve food on plates so fancy you're afraid to eat. Where the wine costs more than Dorothy's medications for a year. It's Thomas Keller, best chef in America." "Best for who?" Walter wheezed. "I had sea rations in Korea that filled my belly better than fancy food ever could. The reservation took 3 months, and Walter might not have 3 days." Maeve's voice stayed level, but something underneath it could cut glass. "You want to know the difference between us, Harlan? You count time in stock options and dinner reservations. I counted in breaths." Down the hall, someone was crying. Not the sharp sound of pain, but the long, low sound of someone who'd been left behind. A radio played somewhere, Perry Como singing "Catch a Falling Star" like it was 1957 again. "That's Eugene," Walter said. "His daughter said she'd visit today. 3rd time this month, she promised. She won't come. Got her own troubles. Husband drinks, kids need things. But Eugene keeps hoping." "Why does Maeve do this?" Harlan found himself asking. "Sit with people who are already leaving." Walter studied him with eyes that had seen Incheon and Birmingham and everything in between. "You really don't know your own wife, do you? We've been married 28 days. And you thought a $400 dinner would make her love you?" Walter's laugh was dry as August dirt. "Son, she held my hand through 6 rounds of chemotherapy. Cleaned me when I couldn't make it to the bathroom. Sang Amazing Grace when the morphine made me see my dead wife Margaret standing in the corner. You think your fancy restaurant competes with that?" Harlan's phone buzzed. "Carter, how's domestic bliss? She max out the cards yet?" "She knows," Walter said suddenly. "Knows what?" "About your bet. Maggie's cousin works at that fancy hotel. Heard the whole thing." Walter's eyes didn't leave Harlan's face. "She married you anyway. Question is, why?" The room seemed to shrink. Maeve was checking Walter's IV drip, her movements precise as a Swiss watch. "You knew?" Harlan asked her. "From the beginning." "Then why?" "Because I thought I could change you. Turn you into someone who sees people instead of numbers." She finished with the IV, moved toward the door. "I need to check on Dorothy. She gets confused at night. Thinks it's 1962 and her husband Richard is still alive." She left. Walter closed his eyes, but his hand reached out, caught Harlan's wrist. His grip was stronger than a dying man's should be. "She's trying to save you, son. Same way she saved me from dying alone and angry." His eyes opened. "Question is, do you want to be saved, or do you just want to win?" Before Harlan could answer, Maggie Sullivan appeared in the doorway. Her face had that careful look nurses get when something's gone wrong. "Harlan, there's a phone call for you at the nurses' station." "Who?" "Your father. Says it's urgent." Walter's grip loosened. "Better answer it, son. When you're my age, every call could be the last one." Harlan walked to the nurses' station on legs that felt disconnected from his body. The phone receiver was heavy, black, the kind they didn't make anymore. "Dad?" Finally. William Cross's voice sounded older, thinner than Harlan remembered. "I've been calling for 3 hours. Where have you been?" "At the hospital." "Are you sick?" "No, It's complicated." Silence stretched between them like taffy. Then, "Your mother would have been 79 today." Harlan had forgotten. January 15th, Catherine Cross's birthday. She'd been dead 32 years, and he'd forgotten. "I'm driving down tomorrow," William said. "We need to talk." "Dad, Tomorrow, Harlan. I'm 81 years old. We don't have enough tomorrows left to waste them." The line went dead. Harlan stood there holding the receiver, looking through the glass doors at Walter's room where Maeve had returned, adjusting his blankets, and suddenly understood that everyone in this building was running out of tomorrows, including him. February wind cut through the hospital parking lot like a straight razor. Harlan's Bentley looked wrong, parked between a Ford pickup held together with Bondo and a Honda Civic with plastic taped over the back window. 2 weeks since the French Laundry disaster. 2 weeks of Maeve leaving before dawn, coming home after he'd pretended to sleep. The automatic doors wheezed open. Different smell today. Someone had tried to cover the dying smell with vanilla air freshener. Made it worse, somehow, like perfume on a corpse. "Help you?" The receptionist didn't look up from her crossword puzzle. Glasses on a chain around her neck, the kind they sold at Woolco before Walmart ate it up. "Looking for my wife, Maeve Cross." "Collins, she still goes by Collins here." The woman, name tag said Brenda, finally looked at him over those glasses. "She's with Mr. Jennings in 303, but he doesn't like visitors." The elevator groaned its way up, cables squealing like they needed oil. Third-floor hallway stretched out like a tunnel, yellowed linoleum reflecting the fluorescent lights that buzzed like dying flies. Door after door, some closed, some cracked open enough to hear television sets playing game shows from the 70s. Room 303 had a handwritten sign taped to it. "Please leave lights on. Harold." Harlan peered through the 6-inch gap. An old man sat bolt upright in bed, eyes wide as poker chips, staring at the corner where the wall met the ceiling. Every light in the room was on. Overhead fluorescents, bathroom light, bedside lamp, even a nightlight plugged into the wall socket. "It's okay, Harold." Maeve sat beside him, not touching, just present. "The lights are on. See? Count them with me. 1, 2, 3. But when I sleep," Harold's voice cracked like old leather. "When I sleep, the dark comes back. Then we'll leave them on, all night if you need." "My brother died in the dark." Harold's hands gripped the blanket, knuckles white as typing paper. "The mine. Water came up black as oil. Lights went out one by one like God blowing out candles. Sam pushed me toward the shaft, but he... That was 70 years ago, Harold. You're safe now. Nobody should die in the dark. Nobody will, I promise." Harlan's shoes scraped against the doorframe. Both heads turned. "This is my husband," Maeve said, no surprise in her voice. "Harlan, this is Harold." Harold's eyes fixed on him like searchlights. "You're not a doctor." "No." "Good. Doctors always want to turn the lights off. Save electricity, they say. Like electricity matters more than keeping the dark away." Maeve stood, smoothed her scrubs. "Harold, I need to check on Eugene. Would it be okay if Harlan sat with you for a few minutes?" Harold's hand shot out, grabbed Harlan's wrist before he could pull back. The old man's fingers were cold as pennies, but strong. "Do you understand about the dark?" Harold asked. Harlan thought about his mother's last days, how she'd insisted on keeping every light burning. His father had paid the electric bill with money they didn't have, never said a word about it. "Yes." "Then you can stay." Maeve left. Harold's grip didn't loosen. 70 years, Harold said. 70 years since that mine collapsed, and I still see Sam's face when the lights went out. He was 20, had a baby on the way. His wife named the boy Samuel Jr., but I could never look at that child without seeing the dark water rising. "Where's Samuel Jr.? "Now?" "Sacramento, last I heard. Probably 70 himself. We don't talk. Can't talk. Every word would taste like coal dust and guilt." The heart monitor beeped steady as a metronome. Harold's breathing quickened, whistling through his nose. "Tell me about the mine," Harlan said. "Why?" "Because keeping it inside just makes it bigger." Harold's eyes focused on him sharp as tacks. "You sound like that therapist they sent, except you're here." For an hour, Harold talked. The mine in West Virginia, 1954. Support beams thick as tree trunks, creaking like ship masts. The sound water makes when it comes from nowhere. Not a splash, but a whisper that turns into a roar. How the lights failed in sequence, like dominoes falling backward. Sam's hands on his shoulders, pushing him toward the shaft exit. The last words. "Go, Harry. Tell Martha I loved her." "I was 17, Harold said. "Sam was 20. I lived 70 more years. He got 30 seconds of dark water. You tell me where God's justice is in that." The sun set outside, painting the hospital room orange as a prescription bottle. Harold's grip never loosened. "Will you turn on the closet light?" "It's already on." "Check it, please." Harlan checked. The closet bulb was burning, throwing shadows of empty hangers like skeleton fingers. "Thank you." Harold's eyes started to close, then snapped open. "You won't leave?" "I won't leave." March came in cold. Harlan knew 15 patients by name. Harold, who slept 2 hours at a time. Dorothy, who called him by her dead son's name. Eugene, whose hands moved constantly like he was still planing wood in the shop he'd run for 40 years. "This is insane." Carter stood in Harlan's home office, face red as a stop sign. "You've missed 6 board meetings. The Singapore investors are asking if you've had a stroke." Harlan looked up from his laptop. He'd been searching for Samuel Jennings, Jr. in Sacramento. Found him, 70 years old, retired postman, lived alone in a duplex near the railroad tracks. "I'm busy." "With what? Playing Mother Teresa?" The bet was to marry her, not become Florence Nightingale. "Leave." $5 million, Harlan. You're going to lose $5 million over some nurse who... "Leave." Carter slammed the door hard enough to rattle the diplomas on the wall. That afternoon, Harlan returned to St. Mary's. Maggie Sullivan intercepted him at the elevator, steered him into a break room that smelled like burnt coffee and industrial disinfectant. "We need to talk." She pulled out a metal folding chair, pointed at it. "Sit." He sat. The chair was cold through his pants. "I know who you are," she said. "What you are. Maeve told you?" "Maeve doesn't gossip, but I've got eyes. You show up here playing concerned husband, but these people aren't your redemption project." "That's not what Walter asked about you yesterday," she cut him off. "First time he's asked about anyone besides his dead son in months. Dorothy thinks you're her nephew from Cleveland. Eugene wants to teach you how to make a dovetail joint. I don't understand what you're... If you hurt them, if you're playing some rich man's game, I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of man you are. The kind who bets on marriage like it's a horse race." "How did you..." "My cousin Danny works security at the St. Regis. Heard the whole thing." She leaned forward, close enough he could smell her coffee breath. "Maeve knows too. Has from the start. She told me." "Did she tell you why she married you anyway?" "To save me." Maggie laughed, short and sharp like a bark. "To save them." She pointed through the door toward the patient rooms. She thought if she could change one billionaire's heart, maybe more people like Harold wouldn't die alone in the dark. "I'm trying. Trying isn't enough. These people are dying, Mr. Cross. They don't have time for you to try. Either be here or don't, but don't play with what little time they have left." She left him in the break room with its motivational posters peeling off the walls. Hang in there with a kitten on a tree branch, like that helped anyone face death. His phone rang. The screen showed his father's number. 3rd time today. He let it go to voicemail, like he had for 8 years of Sundays. Harold's door was open. Harlan found him sitting up, every light still burning. But his face was different. Calmer. "I called him," Harold said. "Who?" "Samuel Jr. You gave me his number yesterday." Harold's eyes were wet but clear. 70 years of not talking, and I called him. What did he say? He cried. 70-year-old man crying like a baby. Harold wiped his own eyes with a tissue soft as cobwebs. Said he'd drive up tomorrow. That's good. I might not make it to tomorrow. You will. Harold looked at him. Your phone's been ringing. It's not important. Everything's important when you're running out of time. The phone rang again. William Cross calling for the 4th time. Harlan looked at the screen, then at Harold, who'd waited 70 years to make a call. Answer it, Harold said. Could be your last chance. Harlan lifted the phone to his ear. Dad? Finally. William's voice sounded thin, tired. I'm in Sacramento, halfway to you. Should be there by dinner. Dad, why are you... We need to talk about your mother, about what she did, what you never knew. What do you mean? Just, I'll be there by 6. We'll have dinner. Somewhere normal, not one of your fancy places. There's something you need to know about Leonard. Leonard? The line went dead. Harlan stared at the phone. Leonard was a common name, could be anyone. But Harold was watching him with those searchlight eyes. And somewhere down the hall, Eugene was explaining to a young nurse how to sand wood with the grain, not against it. And Dorothy was asking where President Kennedy was. And Harlan suddenly knew that whatever his father was driving 300 miles to tell him was going to change everything. Your father? Harold asked. Yeah. How long since you've seen him? 8 years, my mother's funeral. Harold nodded slowly. I got 70 years to beat. You got 8. Neither one of us has a good excuse anymore. Through the window, the sun was setting over San Francisco Bay, turning the water the color of old pennies. Somewhere out there, his father was driving a truck older than most of the nurses here, coming to tell him something about his mother and someone named Leonard. Harlan's phone buzzed with a text from Maeve. New patient coming tomorrow, room 217. You might want to stay away from the hospital for a few days. What's wrong? Harold asked. Harlan looked at the message again. Maeve had never warned him away before. I don't know, but the way his stomach turned cold as February concrete, he thought maybe he did. William Cross's truck looked wrong, parked outside the penthouse building. 1994 Ford F-150, rust eating through the wheel wells, Nevada plates covered in desert dust. The doorman kept eyeing it like it might leak oil on his clean concrete. Place is big enough, William said, standing in the marble foyer. His work boots, Red Wings, resoled 3 times, left dirt marks on the white floor. Could fit our whole house in this entry. Dad, your mother would have hated it. William walked to the window wall, looked out at the city lights. All this height. She liked to keep her feet close to the ground. They sat at the kitchen island. William had brought sandwiches from a deli in Sacramento. Pastrami on rye, wrapped in white paper now spotted with grease. Real food. He'd waved off Harlan's offer of wine, asked for water in a regular glass, not crystal. You said something about Leonard, Harlan said. William chewed slowly, the way he'd taught Harlan to eat when food was precious. Leonard Thompson. Died at Mercy General in Minden, 1994. Your mother sat with him. Mom sat with dying people? Every Tuesday and Thursday, after her piano practice. William's hands, electrician's hands, scarred and capable, unwrapped the second sandwich. Leonard Thompson had a nephew, also named Leonard after him, Leonard Hale. The sandwich turned to sawdust in Harlan's mouth. The obituary mentioned it, William continued. Your mother kept all the obituaries, said every death deserved to be remembered. I found them cleaning out her things, hundreds of them. Leonard Hale, the engineer you fired, yes. William's eyes, same green as Harlan's but clearer, stayed steady. Your mother held his uncle's hand while he died. 20 years later, you destroyed his nephew's life with a computer click. Funny how the world circles back. Harlan's phone buzzed. Maeve. Please don't come tomorrow. That your wife? She's warning me about something. Warning you or protecting you? I don't know. William stood, walked to the window again. The city spread below like a circuit board, all lights and connections. Your mother would have liked her. Maeve. You don't know her. I know she works with the dying. I know she married you despite knowing about the bet. William turned. Oh yes, I know about that too. News travels, even to Nevada. How? Doesn't matter how. What matters is why she did it, and why you're going to ignore her warning and go to that hospital tomorrow. What makes you think? Because you're my son, and somewhere under all this marble and money, you're still Catherine's boy, and Catherine's boy wouldn't hide from what he'd done. May arrived hot, unusual for San Francisco. The air conditioning at St. Mary's wheezed like an asthmatic. Room 217 had been empty for 3 days after Mrs. Chen died holding a photograph of grandchildren in Seattle who'd never visited. Harlan stood at the nurse's station, watching the elevator. The door opened. 2 orderlies wheeled out a gurney. The man on it looked like death had already started its paperwork. Skin yellow as old paper, liver failing, belly swollen with fluid, arms like sticks someone had wrapped skin around. But the eyes. Harlan knew those eyes. They'd been brilliant once, lit up with discovery when Leonard Hale had explained the RF semiconductor design that would eventually make Harlan's third company worth billions. Employee 10,847. The email had taken 6 seconds to send. Your position has been eliminated, effective immediately. Leonard's eyes found him across the hallway, cleared like fog lifting. You. Not a question, not even an accusation, just recognition. The way you'd identify a photograph in a lineup. Maeve emerged from the room, chart in hand. She looked between them, no surprise on her face. You know each other? Leonard's laugh came out wet, rattling. Know him? He destroyed my life with one email. The orderlies finished transferring Leonard to the bed, left with the empty gurney squeaking down the hall. The room felt too small suddenly, like the walls were leaning in. 15 years, Leonard said. His voice was stronger than his body suggested, running on some last reserve. 15 years since that Friday morning, 9:43 a.m. Pacific time. I know the exact time because I was reviewing the patent application, the one that made you billions. Leonard, don't. Leonard raised one skeletal hand, yellow as his face. Just don't. I've had 15 years to think about what I'd say, had whole speeches planned. But now? He looked at his dying body. Seems pointless. Maeve moved to the bedside, took Leonard's hand with the same gentleness she'd use with Crystal. Tell me about your family. Family. Leonard's eyes stayed on Harlan. Martha left 2 years after. 41 years of marriage couldn't survive 2 years of me being worthless. Angry. Drinking because what else was there? Children? Maeve's voice was soft as flannel. Sarah. The name changed Leonard's face, softened it. Brilliant girl. Was at Berkeley, engineering, like her old man. Had to drop out when I couldn't pay anymore. Where is she now? Seattle, last I heard. Pharmacy technician. Brilliant girl working a register because I couldn't protect her from men like him. Harlan's legs felt disconnected from his body. He leaned against the doorframe. She tried to help, Leonard continued. Got 3 jobs, 20 years old, working 3 jobs. Made herself sick. I pushed her away. Couldn't stand seeing what I'd done to her by failing. You didn't fail, Maeve said. You were failed by him. Leonard pointed at Harlan, fingers shaking but aimed true. But also by me. Pride's expensive. Cost me my daughter. Haven't seen her in 5 years. Do you want me to try to reach her? Phone's disconnected. Moved, probably. Besides, Leonard looked at his swollen belly, his stick arms. Why should she see this? Let her remember me from before, when I was somebody. You're still somebody, Maeve said. No, I'm nobody, which is what Mr. Cross here wanted. Eliminate the position. That's what the email said. Not fire, not lay off. Eliminate, like I was a line item. Harlan found his voice. I can find her. Sarah, I can bring her here. With what? Your money? Your connections? Leonard's laugh turned into a cough that brought up pink foam. Maeve wiped his mouth, gentle as a mother. Some things you break stay broken, Mr. Cross. Everyone deserves a chance at reconciliation. Pretty words. You learn those at Princeton? Or Harvard? I forget which fancy school you went to while I was working nights to put Sarah through state college. Harlan pulled out his phone. His fingers found the search engine, typed Sarah Hale, Seattle, Pharmacy. The results came up. LinkedIn profile, Facebook page set to private. Work history, Walgreens, 14th Avenue. I'm going to call her. Don't you dare. Leonard's voice had iron in it suddenly. Don't you dare use my dying to make yourself feel better. That's not, isn't it? Big man fixes things, throws money at the problem. Leonard closed his eyes. 17 patents I developed for you. Remember any of them? Harlan didn't answer. Couldn't. The RF semiconductor that made your IPO possible. Patent 7,859,291. My design. My work. My genius. Your billions. Leonard's eyes opened. But you know what I remember most? Harlan waited. Sarah's face when I told her we couldn't afford Stanford anymore. She'd gotten in. Early admission. Full ride until junior year, then loans we could handle. Until we couldn't. Until you decided 300 human beings were worth less than a stock bump. Maggie appeared in the doorway. Mr. Hale needs rest. I need more than rest. But Leonard's eyes were already closing. Harlan stumbled into the hallway. His phone showed Sarah Hale's number. His finger hovered over the call button. Don't. Maeve stood beside him. Not yet. He's dying. Yes. She should know. Yes. Then why? Because it has to be his choice, his reconciliation, not your project. They stood there in the hallway that smelled like pine sol and grief. Through the doorway, Leonard's breathing rattled like coins in a tin can. Did you know? Harlan asked. When you warned me not to come? I knew the name, suspected the connection. She looked at him. Are you going to run? What? From this, from him, from what you did. No. Then sit with him. Don't talk. Don't try to fix. Just sit with the man whose life you ended 15 years ago and watch him actually end. She walked away. Harlan stood in the hallway, phone in his hand, Sarah Hale's number on the screen. Inside room 217, Leonard Hale was dying alone, the way he'd lived for 15 years. Harlan put the phone away and walked back into the room. Leonard's eyes opened. You're still here? Yes. Why? Harlan pulled the visitor's chair next to the bed, sat down. The vinyl cushion wheezed under his weight. Because someone should be. Leonard studied him for a long moment. Then, patent 7,859,292. Improved heat dissipation for semiconductor packages. Remember that one? No. Saved your company $6 million in manufacturing costs. They sat there, the billionaire and the dying engineer, while outside the sun set over San Francisco Bay, and somewhere in Seattle, a brilliant woman named Sarah was probably getting ready for another shift at a job that wasted her genius. Leonard's breathing changed at 11:15 p.m. Maeve called it Chain Stokes, the breathing that comes before the end. Long pause, then a gasp like a drowning man breaking surface, then quick, shallow breaths, then the pause again. Harlan sat in the vinyl chair that had held 1,000 vigils. His phone showed Sarah Hale's number, saved but not dialed for 3 hours. Leonard hadn't spoken since sunset. Just lay there, eyes closed, chest doing its irregular dance. How long? Harlan asked Maeve when she came to check vitals. Hours, maybe less. I need to call her. He said no. He's not conscious to say no anymore. Maeve looked at Leonard's face, yellow as old wax paper. Wait. Give him tonight. If he makes it to morning, call her. But Harlan couldn't wait. In the hallway, he pressed the number. 4 rings. 5. Hello? Woman's voice, tired, cautious. Background noise like a television. Sarah Hale? Who's asking? My name is Harlan Cross. Your father... Click. Disconnected. He called back. Straight to voicemail. Called again. Same. Harlan opened his laptop in the family waiting room. Cheerful name for a place where people waited for death. Southwest Airlines. SeaTac to SFO. Next flight at 6 a.m. $547. He bought the ticket. Then typed a text. Your father is dying. St. Mary's Hospice, San Francisco. Room 217. Maybe 24 hours left. Southwest Flight 447. Ticket at counter under your name. Please. Send. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Is this real? Yes, he has maybe a day. He doesn't know I'm contacting you. Long pause. The dots came and went like Morse code. I can't afford. Tickets paid. Taxi from airport too. Just come. He doesn't want me there. He doesn't want you to see him like this. Different thing. No response for 20 minutes. Then, flight boards at 5:30 a.m. Harlan returned to Leonard's room. The breathing had gotten worse. 30 seconds of nothing, then that terrible gasp. Maeve sat beside the bed, holding Leonard's hand. His fingers are getting cold, she said. Circulation shutting down. Blood goes to the core last. Should I? Just sit. Sometimes hearing is the last thing to go. Talk to him. About what? Anything. The patents, Sarah, anything that says he mattered. So Harlan talked. About patent 7,859,291, the RF semiconductor that changed everything. How elegant the design was. How it solved 3 problems with 1 solution. How the engineering was so clean, the manufacturers thought there was an error because it seemed too simple. Leonard's breathing stretched longer. 40 seconds, 50. Morning came gray through the windows. 6 a.m. Sarah's flight taking off. 2 hours, 15 minutes to SFO. 20 minutes if traffic was good from the airport. Call it 3 hours total. 7 a.m. Leonard's breathing was mostly pauses now. His skin had a waxy look, like fake fruit. 8 a.m. Maeve checked his blood pressure. It's dropping. Not long now. 9 a.m. Sarah texted, landed, getting taxi. 9:30. Traffic on 101, construction. GPS says 12:30 arrival. Harlan watched Leonard's chest. Rise, long pause. Fall, longer pause. Rise. He's waiting, Maeve said. Sometimes they wait. For what? Permission, or someone, or something we can't know. 11:45. Sarah texted, 5 minutes. 11:50. Leonard's breathing stopped for 70 seconds. Started with a gasp that sounded like paper tearing. 11:55. Stopped again. 90 seconds. 12:15. The pause stretched out like piano wire. Harlan counted. 120 seconds. 150. 12:22. Footsteps running in the hallway. Fast, desperate. Sarah burst through the door, carry-on bag banging against the frame. She looked like Leonard must have 20 years ago. Same sharp face, same intelligent eyes, same determined jaw. Dad? Leonard's chest wasn't moving, hadn't moved for 3 minutes. Dad! Sarah grabbed his hand, still warm but empty. Dad, it's Sarah. I'm here. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Nothing. Please, please, just one more minute. Let me tell you I love you. Let me tell you I understand. That I never stopped loving you. 12:24. The monitor flatlined. That steady tone that meant all the electricity had left, all the chemistry had stopped, all the engineering had ended. Sarah collapsed against the bed. Her sobs shook the whole frame. She pressed her face against Leonard's still chest, words coming out broken. I was going to tell you about my boyfriend, David. He's an engineer like you. Fixes things with his hands. You'd like him. Maeve moved to comfort her, but Sarah pulled away, clinging to her father's cooling body. I was going to tell you I went back to school. Nights. Online. Graduated last month. Mechanical engineering. Like you taught me. Harlan stood against the wall, watching a daughter mourn the father he'd destroyed, the reconciliation he'd stolen by 12 minutes. 12 minutes. Traffic on 101. Construction that wasn't there yesterday. I was going to say I forgive you, Sarah whispered to the body. For pushing me away. For the drinking. For the anger. I understand now. I understand what it feels like to lose everything. Thursday. Riverside Cemetery, the section where the county buried people who couldn't afford better. Morning fog, thick as cotton, turning everyone into ghosts. 6 people stood around the cheap coffin. Sarah in a black dress from Ross Dress for Less. Maeve in her one good outfit, navy like her scrubs. Maggie Sullivan, off shift but present. Walter in his wheelchair, oxygen tank hissing with each breath. Dorothy, who kept asking why everyone was sad. And William Cross, who'd driven down from Nevada without being asked. Figured you might need your father, he'd said when he arrived. The minister, someone the funeral home provided, $25, read from Ecclesiastes. To everything there is a season, a time to be born and a time to die. Words that had been said over thousands of cheap coffins, meaning everything and nothing. Sarah stood at the grave's edge, looking down at the pine box that held her father. He talked about you, she said to Harlan. Before, when he still talked, said you were brilliant, ruthless but brilliant. Sarah. He was proud of that patent, even after, even when it made you rich and left him with nothing. Said it was perfect engineering, the kind where you can't improve it, can't add or subtract anything. She pulled something from her purse, a folder worn at the edges. Found this in his apartment. She handed it to Harlan. Inside, 17 patent applications, all dated within the last 5 years, all with Sarah Hale listed as inventor. He kept working, she said, even with nothing, even with nobody, kept designing, kept solving problems, put my name on everything after 2018, said if anyone should benefit from his brain, it should be me. These are worth nothing, because no one knows they exist. Because Leonard Hale died forgotten in a charity ward, while patent 7,859,291 made you $8 billion. The cemetery workers started filling the grave. The sound of dirt hitting wood was softer than Harlan expected. Final, in a way that had nothing to do with drama. There's something else, Sarah said. She pulled out another paper, a patent application dated 3 weeks ago. Medical monitoring device. He filed it under my name. His last design. Harlan looked at the application. The engineering was beautiful, clean. The kind of solution that looked obvious after someone brilliant thought of it. He didn't know I knew, Sarah said. But I've been checking the patent office website every week for 5 years. Hoping he'd remember I exist. She walked away then, toward a waiting Uber. Harlan stood at the grave with his father, Maeve, and the others. The fog was lifting, showing San Francisco Bay in the distance, all that water going somewhere. Your company still owns Leonard's patents, Maeve said quietly. All 17 of them. William Cross put his hand on his son's shoulder. Your mother would have known what to do. The penthouse felt like a museum after midnight. Everything in its place, nothing touched. Harlan sat at his desk, Leonard's patent applications spread across the mahogany like accusations. 17 designs that could have changed the world, sitting in a dead man's apartment for 15 years. William slept in the guest room, first time he'd stayed since the funeral 8 years back. Through the door, Harlan could hear his father's snoring, same rhythm as when Harlan was 7 and scared of thunder. Footsteps in the hallway, soft, careful. Maeve coming home from another 16-hour shift. She moved through the apartment like she was borrowing it, temporary as morning frost. She appeared in the doorway, blood on her left sleeve, dark, dried. Someone else's ending. Walter had a fall, she said. Tried to get to the bathroom alone, 14 stitches. Is he? Scared but stable. She noticed the patents. You're looking at Leonard's work. $47 million in revenue last year from his patents. He got a $500 bonus 15 years ago. What are you going to do about it? Before he could answer, William appeared behind her. Same plaid pajamas he'd worn for 30 years. Catherine had bought them at Sears before Sears became a memory. Can't sleep with you two talking. He picked up one of the patent applications, held it up to the light. His electrician's hands steady despite the arthritis that made them look like tree roots. Sarah Hale? The daughter? Leonard put her name on everything after 2018. The girl who got there 12 minutes too late? The words sat there like stones. William set down the paper. Your mother would have given every penny to that girl. Every penny and then some. Mom? Catherine. William's voice carried weight. You were already at Harvard, already turning into someone who counted money instead of minutes. You didn't see what she did with her Tuesday and Thursday mornings. What are you talking about? William sat in the leather chair that cost more than his truck. After her piano practice, you remember she played piano? Every morning at 5:30. After that, she'd drive to Mercy General, sit with people who were dying alone, read to them, hold their hands. Came home smelling like Lysol and other people's fear. Harlan's chest tightened like a fist was squeezing his heart. I didn't know. You didn't ask, too busy with your spreadsheets and projections even at 22. William looked at Maeve. She would have liked you, would have understood what you're doing. She sounds remarkable, Maeve said. She was ordinary. That's what made her remarkable. She saw people others stepped over. William stood, joints popping like breakfast cereal. I'm making coffee. Real coffee, not that $400 a pound stuff you keep. He shuffled toward the kitchen. Maeve moved closer to the desk. Close enough that Harlan could smell the hospital on her. Disinfectant and sweat and something darker. Maggie told me something today, she said. What? She told me you know. Know what? About the bet. The air in the room went thin. What about it? That I've known since 2 weeks after you proposed. She picked up Leonard's final patent. Maggie's cousin Danny works security at the St. Regis. He heard everything. The whole bet. $5 million, 6 months, making a working woman fall for you. Harlan's mouth went dry as dust. When did you? 2 weeks after the coffee shop. Before you proposed. Before that courthouse wedding in my mother's dress. And you married me anyway? Yes. Why? Maeve set down the patent, pulled out her phone, opened her banking app, held it where he could see. Balance. $247.83. Where's your salary going? Harold's nephew flew in from Phoenix yesterday. Cost $600. Eugene's daughter needs rehab. Real rehab, not the state-funded kind where they warehouse you. $28,000 so far. Dorothy's medications aren't covered by Medicare. $300 a month. You're giving away $45,000 a year? $44,600. I keep $400 for food and bus fare. The bus. Harlan stood up, chair rolling back. We have 3 cars. You have 3 cars. Bought with money earned by destroying people like Leonard. She moved toward the door, stopped. I need to shower. I have Mr. Patterson's blood on my sleeve. Wait, Harlan came around the desk. Is that why you haven't touched anything? The credit cards, the clothes I bought, the jewelry? I don't want things. I want people to stop dying forgotten. So this whole marriage, it's just, what, a transaction? Maeve turned back. For the first time since that morning at the coffee shop, she looked tired. Not shift tired, soul tired. Like she'd been carrying rocks up a mountain that had no top. I married you because I thought I could fill you with something better than numbers. But you can't pour water into a cup that thinks it's already full. You said that before, at the hospital. And you still didn't hear it. William appeared with 2 mugs of coffee that looked like motor oil. Catherine used to say that exact same thing, about vessels being too full to fill. Maeve took the coffee, sipped it even though it had to taste like burnt rubber. Your wife sounds like she was wise. She was. William looked at Harlan. She'd be ashamed of what you became, but she'd love who you're trying to become. I'm not becoming anything. I'm just visiting dying people. Harold asked me to thank you, Maeve said suddenly. For what? For finding Samuel Jr. They talked for 3 hours yesterday. 70 years of guilt, and you gave them 3 hours. How do you know? Harold told every nurse on the floor, first time he's smiled since admission. She set down the coffee mug. He wants to know if you can find someone else. Who? His brother's wife, Martha, the one Sam was thinking of when the mine flooded. She'd be 93 if she's alive. Harlan already had his laptop open. Martha Jennings, West Virginia, born approximately 1932. The search engines spun their webs, pulling data from 1,000 databases. Founder, Sunny Acres Nursing Home, Charleston, 93 years old. Call them. It was 2 a.m., but nursing homes always had someone awake. The night nurse sounded tired but kind. Yes, Martha Jennings was a resident. Yes, she was alert. No, she never had visitors. Can you tell her Harold Jennings wants to talk to her? About Sam? The nurse's voice changed. Sam was her husband, died in a mine accident in 1954. She's talked about him every day for 70 years. Harlan gave the nurse his number, Harold's room number at St. Mary's. When he hung up, Maeve was looking at him strange. What? He asked. You're different. You see them now. Their names, their stories. Their connections, William added from the doorway. That's what Catherine always said. We're all connected by invisible threads. Tug one, feel it 1,000 miles away. Maeve's phone rang. She looked at the screen, frowned. At 2 in the morning? Harlan asked. She answered, listened, face changing from confusion to something else. Something careful. I understand. We'll be ready. She hung up, looked at Harlan with eyes that held weight. What is it? That was Sunrise Manor in Nevada. They have a patient being transferred to us tomorrow. End-stage kidney failure. No insurance worth mentioning. Why call you directly? Because the patient asked for me specifically. Said he knew my husband. She paused, watching his face. His name is William Cross Sr., your grandfather, the one your father said died 20 years ago. Harlan looked at his father, who stood in the doorway holding his coffee mug with hands that shook like leaves in wind. Dad? William's face had gone gray as February snow. I can explain. He's been alive this whole time? In a way. William set down the mug, coffee sloshing. The man who was my father died in a bottle 20 years ago. The man in that nursing home, I don't know who he is. He's been in Nevada this whole time? 20 miles from you? 15 miles. I know exactly how far. William's voice cracked like old leather. 15 miles and 20 years of silence. Maeve stood. He'll be here tomorrow afternoon, room 119. I won't see him, William said. That's your choice, Maeve said. But he's asking for you. And for Harlan. Says he has something to tell you both before he dies. She left them there, grandfather and grandson who'd both run from their fathers, standing in a penthouse that suddenly felt small as a coffin. Did Mom know? Harlan asked. She knew. She visited him every month until she got too sick. Asked me to forgive him. William laughed, bitter as black coffee. Said holding on to anger was like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Did you? Forgive him? William looked out the window at the city lights, all those lives blinking in the dark. Ask me tomorrow, after I see what's left of him. The estate sale notice ran in the Chronicle for 3 days. Everything must go. Nob Hill penthouse, premium furnishings. People came like ants to sugar, running their fingers over things that cost more than most made in a year. Carter showed up the second day, face red as raw beef. What the hell are you doing? Selling things. Harlan watched a young couple debate over the $60,000 couch. The wife sat on it, bounced a little, like testing a used car. The bet ends in 2 weeks. You're going to lose $5 million because of some hospice nurse who... Her name is Maeve. Carter grabbed Harlan's arm, fingers digging through the cotton shirt from Target. This is about that engineer, the dead one. Leonard Hale, yes. He's dead. You can't fix dead. No, but I can fix what's left. Harlan pulled free. The patent royalties. $47 million last year alone. Setting up a trust for Sarah. You're insane. Maybe. Carter left. Never came back. The $5 million bet expired on July 2nd, like milk going sour. Harlan transferred the money without comment. Just numbers moving through wires, meaning nothing. The second house sold in June. The Tahoe place took longer. 12 bedrooms were hard to move. The cars went at auction. The watches to collectors who'd never wear them, just lock them in safes like captured time. William helped pack what was left. Found things Harlan had forgotten existed. A baseball signed by someone dead. Cufflinks that cost more than a teacher's salary. In a bottom drawer, wrapped in tissue paper, he found a photograph. Catherine at her piano, morning light through the kitchen window, hands blurred with motion. Remember this? William asked. She played every morning. 5:30, never missed. William studied the photo. See how her hands are moving? She used to say the real music happened between the notes, the silence that gave the sound meaning. July 20th came hot and bright. 1 year since the bet. The hospice garden smelled like tomatoes someone had planted and forgotten. Folding chairs borrowed from the cafeteria made crooked rows. Walter's wheelchair took up the aisle, oxygen tank hissing like a patient snake. Can't believe I lived long enough for this, Walter wheezed. Thomas stood beside him, steady on his feet for the first time in years. 60 days sober, hands that didn't shake anymore. Dorothy sat at the upright piano they'd wheeled out from the activities room. Her fingers found Mozart without her conscious mind knowing what year it was. The music came clean and true, muscle memory deeper than thought. Harold was there, Samuel Jr. beside him. They'd been talking every day since Harlan connected them. 70 years of silence broken by a phone call. Eugene tried to stand when the music started, Maggie helping him. His hands moved like he was conducting, or maybe sanding wood in his mind's workshop. William stood as Harlan's best man, wearing the same suit from Catherine's funeral. She would have wanted to be here, he said. She is, Harlan said, and meant it. Maeve appeared in her mother's dress, same one from the courthouse wedding, but somehow different. Maybe because Harlan was different. Maybe because this time they both meant it. The chaplain from the hospice, Father Martinez, who'd given last rites to hundreds, kept it short. He knew better than anyone how little time anyone had. Do you, Maeve, take this man? I do. No hesitation. Do you, Harlan, take this woman? I do. The rings came from the hospital gift shop. $9 each, silver-plated, would probably turn their fingers green. Harlan had offered to buy real ones. Maeve had said no. When they kissed, Walter started crying. Not sad tears. the kind that come when you live long enough to see something good happen. Thomas held his father's hand while he shook with the effort of feeling. The reception was in the cafeteria. Sheet cake from Safeway. Coffee from the same pot that had made 1,000 grieving families alert enough to drive home. Harold's nephew Samuel Jr. had driven up from Sacramento, brought his wife, their kids. 4 generations in one room, connected by a mine disaster 70 years gone. My grandfather would have been 94, Samuel told Harlan. Would have had great-grands. Would have seen the world change. But he pushed my great-uncle out of that mine shaft first. Harold needed to hear that, and I needed to say it. A week later, a new patient arrived. Marcus Freeman, 73. Kidneys failing, Medicare that barely covered the basics. Maggie brought him past the day room where Harlan was reading to Eugene. Marcus stopped, stared. I know you. Harlan looked up. The face was older, grayer, but something about the eyes. Marcus Freeman, janitor at Technova, 20 years back. Marcus smiled, showing gaps where teeth had been. You remembered my daughter's name. Keisha. Asked about her scholarship every week. Memory flooded back. The early days, before the second company, before efficiency became religion. Marcus in his green uniform, emptying trash while Harlan worked late. Did she get it? Full ride to Stanford, engineer now, Boeing, designs things that fly. Marcus shuffled closer. You fired me too, eventually, outsourcing, but you sent a package, unofficial, enough for Keisha's books that year. I'd forgotten. I hadn't. 20 years and I never forgot the executive who knew the janitor had a daughter. Marcus looked around the day room. What are you doing here? Reading to Eugene. He likes hearing about woodworking, though I don't know much. I know wood, Marcus said. Worked construction before my kidneys went. Mind if I sit? So Marcus sat and talked about grain patterns and joint strength while Eugene's hands moved in the air, following along with expertise his mind couldn't name anymore. The Leonard Hale Foundation funded its first family that month. A woman dying of lung cancer, daughter flying in from Korea where she taught English. The daughter arrived in time, held her mother's hand, said the words that needed saying. The second family. A man with liver failure, son in prison. The foundation paid for a supervised visit. 2 hours in a hospice room with a guard watching. The son held his father's dying hand through shackles. By September, 17 families. Each one a connection made, a thread pulled that vibrated 1,000 miles away. Sarah Hale started graduate school at UW, mechanical engineering, focus on medical devices. The patent money from her father's designs, Harlan had signed it all over, paid for tuition, rent, a life that didn't require 3 jobs. She called Harlan once. He would have hated this, you giving me money. It's not mine, never was. It was his. Still, he was proud. Stupid proud, but proud. Pride's expensive. Cost him everything. Pause. Thank you for the flight. Even though I was 12 minutes too late. You were exactly on time. He heard you, I'm sure of it. October brought rain and William Cross Sr. He arrived on a Tuesday, evacuated from the Nevada facility that couldn't handle end-stage kidney failure. Harlan and William went to see him together. He looked nothing like the grandfather Harlan remembered. That man had been huge, violent, drunk more often than sober. This was a skeleton wrapped in paper skin, eyes clouded with toxins his kidneys couldn't clear. Billy, he said when he saw William. My boy. Don't. William's voice was stone. You don't get to call me that. I'm dying. We're all dying. You've been dying in a bottle since before I was born. The old man's eyes found Harlan. You look like her. Like Catherine. Don't say her name, William said. She visited me. Every month until the cancer took her. Sat there reading her Bible, praying for my sorry soul. And you never got sober, not one day, not even for her. No. The old man closed his eyes. Couldn't. Wouldn't. Same thing in the end. They left after 10 minutes. William never went back. The old man died 3 days later, alone except for Maeve holding his hand. She said he called for Billy at the end. Should I feel guilty? William asked at the burial. County cemetery, no marker yet. Feel what you feel, Harlan said. Guilt, relief, anger, nothing. It's all true. November. Harlan and Maeve in the hospice kitchen at 5 a.m., making soup. The industrial stove had moods, sometimes too hot, sometimes barely warm. They'd learned its personality like learning a difficult friend. Harold's asking for you, Maeve said, stirring the pot. Wants to tell you something about his brother. Sam? About the mine company. They sent a settlement check in 1955. $5,000 for Sam's death. Harold never cashed it. Still has it in a safety deposit box. Why tell me? Because he's leaving it to the foundation. Wants Sam's death to mean something finally. Through the window, dawn touched the bay. Somewhere out there, Carter was probably on his yacht. The board had replaced Harlan without comment. Stock price up 20% without him. Any regrets? Maeve asked. About what? Losing everything. Harlan looked at his hands. Calloused now from real work. His wedding ring, the $9 one, had turned his finger green, but he'd never taken it off. How can I regret the only thing that made me real? The door opened. Walter appeared, Thomas pushing his wheelchair. You two gonna make soup all day? Or is someone gonna help me die with dignity here? This catheter's not gonna change itself. Thomas rolled his eyes. Dad, you can't joke about that. I'm 84 with terminal cancer. I can joke about whatever I damn well please. But he was smiling. His son was here. Had been here every day for 3 months. He wouldn't die alone. New patients arrived daily, some with family, some without. The foundation grew. 20 families, 30. Each one a name Maeve would remember, would speak aloud in her morning ritual of remembering the dead. 597 names now. Harold passed in December, Samuel Jr. holding one hand, Martha Jennings on speakerphone from West Virginia, telling him about the life Sam never got to live. 4 kids, 11 grands, a house with a garden where she grew the tomatoes Sam had loved. Dorothy died thinking it was 1962, asking for President Kennedy, calm in her confusion. Eugene built his last imaginary cabinet the morning before he passed, his hands moving with perfect precision through empty air. Walter lasted until spring. Thomas was there, sober 1 year. I love you, Dad. Walter's last words. About time. Each death was particular, each grief specific. Harlan learned them all, held them all, remembered them all. Marcus Freeman lived 6 months. Keisha flew in from Seattle every weekend the last month. She and Sarah Hale met in the hallway, 2 daughters of men the system had failed, both becoming engineers anyway. They had coffee, exchanged numbers, small connections in the web. One morning, 5 a.m., the kitchen, Harlan and Maeve making soup, same ritual, different day. Through the window, the bay caught first light. New patient today, Maeve said. Room 200. Who? Man named Robert Chen, 91. Says he knows you. Harlan searched his memory. Chen? From your first company. Says you were the only executive who learned the cleaning staff's names. I don't remember. He remembers. That's what matters. They stood there, stirring soup for people who might not live to taste it, in a kitchen that smelled like onions and endings, in a building where everyone was running out of time. We all are, Maeve said, like she'd read his mind. Running out of time. The only question is what we do with what's left. The work continued. The dying kept dying. The living kept witness. Names were remembered, spoken aloud, held sacred. And Harlan Cross, who'd once thought winning was everything, learned the most important truth of his 54 years. The only thing worth winning was seeing others clearly, holding their pain without flinching, remembering their names when the world forgot. $5 million lost on a bet, $8 billion given away, 300 people destroyed with one email, 600 names remembered and spoken each morning. The arithmetic of redemption never balances. It's not supposed to. It just continues, one name at a time, one hand held, one light left on against the dark. The soup was ready. Robert Chen was afraid. He wouldn't die alone. None of them would. Not anymore. My friend, what I've shared with you isn't really about Harlan Cross or his billions. It's about my own father, who worked 70-hour weeks at the factory and missed my childhood. About my mother, who died calling my name while I sat in a meeting 3,000 miles away, chasing a promotion that meant nothing. We all have our Leonard Hales, people we've failed in our pursuit of more. But here's what Harlan taught me. It's never too late to learn their names, to hold their hands, to leave the lights on for someone afraid of the dark. Tomorrow, I'm visiting my father at Sunrise Manor. He's 86 now, doesn't remember my name most days, but I'll sit with him, read the sports page, be present. Because everyone deserves a witness to their life, especially at the end. This is a work of fiction inspired by stories of human redemption, created solely for entertainment purposes. This narrative does not condone, encourage, or promote any form of violence, discrimination, or harmful behavior toward any individual or group. All characters and events portrayed are products of the author's imagination, and any resemblance to real persons, living or deceased, or actual events is purely coincidental. The story aims to explore themes of compassion, forgiveness, and human connection through fictional scenarios.